All right, so there's some vital context for what we're doing here today. A couple of months ago, I made a video about the video game Last Flag, in which I said this. If, however, the game does indeed stink, I will order Imagine Dragons' most recent album, Loom, and bury it in the woods. So yeah, now I'm here today to dig a hole and bury a CD in it. And yeah, it's not lost on me how thematically prescient that is. Because yeah, Sony has officially announced that as of January 1st, 2028, no one can print PlayStation discs anymore. So the reaction to that's been pretty intense. A lot of people are mad. I think it's healthy to be mad in that, I don't know, there's two ways you could take this, right? You could take this as it's inevitable, or you could take this as it's too soon. Personally, I didn't see it coming. Embarrassingly enough, I said this in a video 2 weeks ago. Now, I actually believe that eventually there might be a version of GTA 6 on a disc that you can purchase physically. Eventually. So yeah, I already look pretty dumb for saying that. I have no reason to believe today that GTA 6 will ever be on a disc. Ever. Yeah, right now we're just getting the roots out. I gotta level with you. I didn't remember I had promised to bury a CD until yesterday. And think about what you would do in this instance. Where do you go to get a CD? So what I ended up doing was I just Googled Raleigh CD store and FYE came up. And I thought, that's probably it. If anybody's gonna have the most recent Imagine Dragons album, it's probably gonna be FYE.
Thousands of movies, music, games, and so much more for $9.99 or less. So hurry in this weekend, FYE, for your entertainment.
The store itself makes me feel old. There was a time FYE moved into my mall and it seemed high tech. It was like, whoa, there's a store that sells DVDs, you know? Today, I was surprised that it's still a functioning business at all. And I got to the mall where it's supposed to be, right? And it was quiet. A lot of stores were closed. Frankly, I was almost immediately suspicious that Google tricked me, just another Google trick, and that there was no FYE. I went up an escalator. There were like 5 security guards talking to each other for some reason, and to their left, FYE. And so as you can see from this photograph, retail space is a lot more merch than movies or music. So obviously I'm nervous. So I go to the back. They do have some CD racks. And on those CD racks, they do have a pop, rock, and hip hop section. And in that section, they do have an Imagine Dragons tab. And at the very back of the Imagine Dragons tab, Loom by Imagine Dragons. It was the very last copy. So I figure $16.99, I'm pretty lucky. It's still cheaper than the upgrade to the Ultimate Edition of GTA 6. By the way, did you see all those wall scrolls? Those anime wall scrolls? Turns out, anime is mainstream at the mall. At least at this mall. This mall had 3 different anime statue stores, and notably, 0 where you could buy a video game. They had this one store called Anime X, and you would think Anime X sells anime. They don't. They sell anime statues, of course, posters, and most importantly, swords. There was somebody who was about to just buy a sword at Anime X. Oh, but later I was looking up the directory of this mall to make sure it was factual when I say you can't buy video games there. It is factual. But there was this one store called Boxuchan, and they say, we pride ourselves as one of the only physical media anime stores in the state. Seems semi-relevant. State being North Carolina, by the way. Anyway, the last thing on my mind. Xbox this week finally officially announced their downsizing that they've been alluding to in an Xbox Wire post titled Resetting Xbox. You might notice this one is the only one, only by Asha. Before this point, it was Asha and Matt. This is Asha personally claiming responsibility for what she's about to do, which is to say, let go of 3,200 people, eventually. 1,600 in one day, on Monday, and then 1,600 at some point throughout the next year. And I guess what's wild is she didn't need to make the post. It's titled To Team, right? So obviously it's just another thing that was initially sent internally and then made public Basically, in this whole post, she's taking what is bad news and coloring it like a necessary action. It's this last sentence that still strikes me. History is full of companies that mistake longevity for inevitability. We will not be one of them. And again, like I don't know what that means. I think that people view inevitability differently, right? I guess optimists see inevitability as the sun will always rise tomorrow. The good in humanity will always prevail. My anime statues will last forever. Someone like myself, I'll just say personally myself, I see inevitability as everything will end, all of us will die, Xbox will never win. So I'm saying that when Sony announces nobody gets to make discs anymore on PlayStation consoles, it doesn't make me outraged because it follows a pattern. One more story. Late last year, when I was in town for my dad's funeral, I had packed my black suit and didn't realize it doesn't fit until I got to my hotel. So I went to the mall that I grew up with, you know? And it was not how I remembered the mall being. FYE, extremely gone from that place. Any place you would buy a video game, not happening. However, there was, for some reason, a new arcade that wasn't there before. It's called Moonwalker. And what's crazy about this place is nobody works here. It was empty. There was no human inside. There was just a sign that says, if you're having any problems, just call this phone number. I'll probably be able to come over. And this is what the back looked like. Obviously, we get Moonwalker now as a reference to the arcade game Moonwalker, which leads me to believe this was some sort of passion project for whoever made this place. But still, this image, this is everything. This is what Sony looks like right now. That's Sony. That's every restaurant right now that is just trying to figure out how small they can make a chicken nugget and still sell it for a chicken nugget's price. Asha Sharma says these changes are about a bigger future for Xbox, not a smaller one. I say, yeah, right. I say, good luck. I feel like, here's the thing. Here's what I'm feeling at the end of this whole talk. I feel like for most of us, all we can look forward to in the foreseeable future is just shrinking comfortably. Just finding, it's like not being too miserable in what will cause us misery. But that might just be the heat talking. Anyway, I think this hole's done. Let's finish the job. All right, I wanted to share one more story that wouldn't fit in that video because it's not thematically prescient. But I was in that store called Anime X, right? The anime statue store. And I thought it was so sweet. There was a son and a mother. And the son was like 13 or 14. And the mom was still in her nurse's uniform. And she was like being so patiently supportive, where you could tell it was all nonsense to her, but she was still like asking questions and trying to be engaged in this kid's interests. And I thought that was really cool. I walked by them, right? And I walked over to the anime statues. And there was one of Boa from One Piece, the most beautiful woman in the world. And I noticed on this particular Boa that she had like a little nipple popping out. And it wasn't like painted, right? There was no areola, but there was, for some reason, a tiny plastic nipple that had somehow come exposed from her plastic clothes. And I was thinking, hold on a minute. There's no way that mother and son did not also notice the nipple, right? It's just, anybody's going to see that thing. So it made me triple appreciate what that mom was doing. You know what I mean? She could have said, oh no, I'm raising a pervert, but she said, no, 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 there's still good here. There's still Naruto here. And so a sweet moment at Animex.